Do you ever feel like there just aren't enough hours in the day to get everything done while taking care of your little ones? Mamas, it can be tough trying to balance work and motherhood, especially when you have a toddler at home who needs constant attention. I know because I've been there. I remember when I first gave birth to my son, I was already an aspiring entrepreneur and I didn't want to give that up once he came around. But I got real quick. I saw how hard it is to manage both. And I didn't know how I was going to balance everything there is to do with mom life and business life. And you know what? Maybe you're there too, but don't worry. I've got you covered. In this episode here at the Energized Mama, I'm going to be chatting with Amanda Masterson, host of the Mompreneur Coach podcast. She's here to give you and, well, me, 3 hacks for staying productive during your toddler's nap time so you can make the most of your precious downtime. So what are you waiting for? Go ahead and grab a cup of coffee or a glass of wine. We don't judge here, and let's dive in. Hey, Mama, welcome to the Energized Mama podcast. Do you want a better work-life balance and more time and energy? Do you find yourself thinking, how can I add more hours into the day? Or are you Googling how to deal with mom guilt and can my marriage survive toddlers? Do you wake up with big goals only to feel overwhelmed and defeated when you have no one to help you and your littles aren't listening to you again? Hey, I'm Cheyanne. I too was an exhausted mom away from the help of my family. I too felt constantly drained with a strong-willed toddler and wished I could find balance between being a wife, a mom, stepmom, and entrepreneur. I wanted more energy to give myself and my husband, to discipline my kids confidently, and incorporate faith into our home. All the things, right? But I kept telling myself that I couldn't do it feeling this exhausted and without a community supporting around me. Until I found a healthy balance and endless energy in raising Jesus-loving littles. In this podcast, you will find that too. You will find time and energy boosting tips and tricks, guidance for disciplining your littles, and what to do when you have no help so that you will find balance between all your roles. Stop feeling drained and learn to trust your own mom tuition. Time to grab those headphones, pour that green smoothie, and get ready to get your daily energy boost. I've got you, mama. Before we launch into today's episode, I wanted to share with you a recent review that came in from Melinda D. She titled her review "A Village Without Borders." She says, "Moms, this is such a great podcast for support and encouragement for raising littles, period, but especially raising them away from the support of home and family. My kids are grown, but I have grandchildren who live a few hours away. Cheyanne helped me see a perspective I had not considered as a nana. She is knowledgeable, godly, and cares about all moms who want to ensure Jesus is central in their homes. If you haven't listened, tune in right away and learn to balance motherhood with family and work. What a blessing Cheyanne is to all you moms out there." Wow, Melinda, thank you so much. What a blessing this review was to me, and I'm so honored to share it today on the Energized Mama podcast. Well, hello, all you beautiful mamas. If this is your first or maybe your 15th time joining me today at Mom Nation, I am so excited that you decided to click on this episode. Maybe this means that something in the title intrigued you. Maybe you are a mom that's like, I have these dreams and these passions, besides my children. I want to tell you right now, you are allowed to have that. I give you full permission. And maybe you're wondering, well, how the heck do I actually make these plans come to fruition? Well, I'm glad that you're here today because I am not alone. I have a very special guest that I can't wait to introduce to you guys that are going to give you some peace and all of that chaos that maybe you have up in your brain and give you guys some really great intentional steps that you can actually see your dreams for working out your entrepreneurial goals. Bring them off your dream board, bring them off your vision board, and make them something very practical in your life. So without further ado, my guest today, I am so excited to allow her to introduce herself, but I am going to share with you that she is a powerhouse mom because she's got double the blessings, but I'm sure double the chaos sometimes. She has 6-year-old twins. She is a clarity and confidence coach who helps mompreneurs craft and execute their 9-to-5 exit strategy. Not to mention, she also happens to know a little bit of the podcast game as well because she's a fellow podcaster and is the host of the Mompreneur podcast. Without further ado, I would love you ladies to welcome my guest today, Mrs. Amanda Masterson. Hello, sister.
Hey, 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 I am so happy to be here. So you really did an amazing job with the introduction. I don't have a whole lot to add to that. So yes, I'm a mompreneur. I really got into the mompreneur game so that I could have something that was my own. I
Mhm.
lived in the corporate world. I thought I could do a corporate life and raise babies. And I realized that I didn't want to be in a hotel 3 or 4 nights a week. And so I quit the corporate world and you mentioned this, but I wanted something that was for me, something that was, professionally fulfilling outside of
Mhm.
mom life. And so that's why I'm here and I'm happy to be on your show today. I'm just happy to talk to your audience.
I love that. I love that. And I'm so inspired by the fact that you took that step, because there are, of course, moms who maybe don't have so much of a professional background and they become a mom and they're totally settled into being that stay at home mom. And I have many friends and many, women in my Facebook group that have that experience. But then there's the other mom that's like, I want to do both, but how can I do that without feeling guilt, right? Like how do I balance all of that? And so I would love to hear like from your experience since you actually did that. You made that big step. Was there guilt involved? Like how did you get around some of the mental blocks like leaving that 9 to 5 and then becoming a mompreneur yourself?
Yeah, so guilt. There's definitely guilt. And I think as a mom, and this is just my own personal thought, but I think that you're gonna experience guilt regardless of whether you're a corporate mom, you're a stay-at-home mom. Guilt is just part of being a mom. It's just how you experience that is going to differ based upon your life and your circumstances. Um, Overcoming that guilt though, that's something that I think is so, so important for your mental health, for the mental health of your kids, and just raising your children up to see you as a strong woman who, there are going to be obstacles that you face in life, and showing your children how to overcome those obstacles and that you're worth overcoming those obstacles and the effort that it's going to take. That's key. I think that's key. And so always seeking out help, I think is probably my best advice for how to overcome that guilt, because you can overcome it by yourself, but if you seek out help through that process, you're going to go through that process much more quickly, and I think you'll have a lot less hurt overall. But I would be lying if I said that I don't experience guilt still, right? You just have to
Totally.
Yeah, you have to be aware of it, you have to learn to recognize it, and when it does start to creep in, you have to be very firm, I think, in saying, "Oh, no, 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 no. I see you, and you're not welcome here." And
Oh,
then just
yeah.
politely asking that guilt to leave, because it's
Wow.
not invited to the party.
Wow, I love that. I love that right there is such a great practical step, and such another permission piece. I feel like we're
Yeah.
giving moms this episode is like to say first and foremost, give yourself permission to feel mom guilt because pretending to not have it isn't going to help because you're right. Every single mom that's ever lived, that's anywhere on the face of this planet, no matter what your circumstances, you're going to experience it. We just can't do it all. We can't have it all. We can't shape our children the exact way we want because they're their own little beings. And I think we become very aware of that the moment they're born and we cut that cord and there they are. It's like they're in this world. And, something else you just were so powerfully saying was like, you know, basically like owning that and telling guilt where to go, that we can actually like speak to that guilt and say, okay, hey, I may feel that, but I don't have to live in that. And I love that you've done that by taking the guilt that maybe you had felt, with starting your own business or leaving even your stable, right, 9 to 5
Mhm.
job, that you really looked at it and said, I'm going to do this. And I remember hearing a quote at one point that said, looking fear in the face, like it's just like guilt, kind of like looking at it and doing it anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I see you doing that anyway. And so I would love to hear more about you made those steps. Like you've lived that journey. And for the moms listening that are maybe still a little caught up in guilt or maybe a little caught up in fear, like, you know, they want to make this step, right? They want to do this. They've maybe made that decision to do this. Now, with being a mom of littles like you are, like I am, I have a 3-year-old one on the way, you have 2 6-year-olds. We know that it can be really hard when you make that step to maximize your time and to get the most out of this time. But what would you say are some things that moms can do to maximize their time or get the most done when they still have young children at home?
Yeah, absolutely. And so I think especially when your kids are young, right? You have that sacred nap hour, right? Like that might be the
Mhm.
only time that you have to yourself. And so how can you make the most out of the time that you do have? Understanding that it might be short, understanding that it might be segmented, right? It
Mhm.
might be 15 minutes here, it might be 15 minutes there. And so maybe we total 30, 45, 60 minutes in a day, right? Like I know when my kids napped, if I had 60 minutes, 60 minutes in a day, like, hello, I am on fire, right? And so having a plan, I think, is key to
Mhm.
maximizing that time. And so I wanted to share 3 tips with you today, really. And the first one is to know what your, and this is especially if you're a mom in business, but you have to know what your income producing activities are. Okay.
Mhm. Good.
So we call them IPAs, income producing activities. And when I think about that, it's going to be the tasks in your business that drive your business forward, that drive towards income and growth and stability. And when we think about what are those income producing activities, there's an acronym that I use and
Mhm.
it's WIN. So WIN, and it stands for what's important now. Okay,
Ooh, that's
because there
good.
are a lot of things that are going to be important, right? But we have to identify what is important right now, what is going to drive our business forward, produce income, and that's what we focus on. That's what we focus on. And we have to allow all of the other distractions to really fall away, right? Like if you have an
Yeah.
online business, just one example, creating a graphic in Canva is not an income producing activity, right? That's not what you should be
Yeah.
doing with. So just understanding what those activities are is your first step. And I think as I work with mompreneurs in the online space. And a lot of them, and myself too, we struggle with all of the different things floating around in our brain, right? It's
Right.
hard to focus sometimes when our brain is going a million miles a minute. And so, one thing that I love to do is to do a brain dump. And that is
Mm.
simply where you take out a piece of paper before you get started and you just allow everything that's in your mind to come out of your mind and onto the paper.
Wow. Yeah.
And when that information is on the paper, it just it makes it less urgent. It makes it less pressing and
Yeah.
it frees your mind from the distraction of all of those things, all of those to-dos, and it really allows you to focus on the things that are going to allow you to win. So what is important now?
Wow, that is so key, and I love that because it really does allow you to take that pressure off. I know sometimes myself, as I'm trying to work on something, I've got these other things lingering, so that completely eradicates that problem just right there, and it makes it so tangible in how to move forward in your business too, and actually know what's going to be productive and going to move you forward.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think, as we move into maybe tip number 2, this is going to be really similar to tip number 1, right? But I do a power list, and I'll explain what that is in just a
Mhm.
second. But I create a power list. I actually create mine the night before for the following day. And you can almost think about it as your income producing activities for your life, though, right? Not just your business, but your life for the next day. So I do 5 things. You could do 3 if that feels more manageable for you. But it's 5 things that, regardless of what the day brings, I'm going to get those 5 things done, right? Maybe they are business activities. Maybe they're not. One of the things that's on my power list right now is to read daily in the Bible and to read 10 pages of a personal development book.
Oh,
Okay. And so that has to get done before my head hits the pillow the next night. And so again, it just really focuses your attention throughout your entire day, especially during those blocks of time, like a nap time, where you have, this 15, 20,
mhm.
30 minutes to really be productive. So, what do you need to focus on to not only win in your business, but to win in your life, right? I think that one of the struggles that I had initially in my journey as a mompreneur was spending all of my free time in my business activities, in my income producing activities. And
Mm.
I allowed things like self-care in my workout and even just drinking water to fall to the wayside. And that doesn't serve you, that doesn't serve your children, and that ultimately doesn't serve your business.
Oh, no. And I love by also getting it done the night before is such a great addition to your tip. It's almost like a bonus tip within this tip because then I can imagine that when you do have those small pocket windows of time, you're spending less time actually thinking about what you
Yeah.
need to do and just executing.
Yes, absolutely. And I think another reason why this is so, so powerful is because, and maybe you've heard of this, maybe not, but as humans, okay, this is how we judge ourselves and this is how we judge others. We judge other people based upon the actions that they take. And listen to this, we judge ourselves based upon our intentions,
Ooh.
not our actions, not what
Oh,
we actually do, but what
wow.
we intended to do. Yeah.
I've just got this like light bulb moment, like
Okay, let
total
that sink in.
conviction also going on. That's so true.
And so
So
what happens is when we're trying to grow a business and to be a present mom, we have this laundry list of things that we intend to get done. And unless we're really checking ourselves, right? And by checking ourselves, I mean writing the things down, checking them off as we complete them. We don't really, we sometimes we we give ourselves credit for doing more than we actually did. And then we wonder, why isn't my business growing?
mm,
Right? And it's because you're not
yeah.
actually doing the things that you intended to do. So I actually take at the end of the night, right, when I'm writing my power list for the next day, I look at my power list for today and I check off everything that I accomplished. And if I accomplished all 5 of those things, I get a big W for the day and I write a W on the top of that page. And
Wow.
sometimes things don't get done, right? Mom life, right? It happens. Sometimes I have to write a big fat L for a loss at the end of the day, right? But is it a loss or is it a lesson? I don't know. You have to decide,
Ooh.
right?
Mhm.
But you can look back and, if you think about a game, it doesn't matter what type of game. Let's just say like football, for instance, right? Like there's 4 quarters to a football game, and you don't have to be the highest scoring in every quarter to win the game. But most likely, if you are, the highest scorer in 3 of the 4 quarters, you're still gonna win the game, right? You don't have to win every single day.
Wow.
You can win 3, 4, 5 days out of the week and still see massive
Yes.
momentum and massive growth in your business and your life.
Yes. Oh my gosh, these are all like bonus tips. I'm just
Yeah.
loving it right now. And because that is like, it's so much more empowering to look at your life and your business, your mom life, even when you can give yourselves a score, but also not define yourself by that, especially the one day that comes up with an L, right? It's like,
Yeah.
I think that's where we sometimes place our focus. So I have kind of a sub question to that is like, how
Yeah.
do you decide? So say you don't get things done on your power list,
Uh-huh.
Amanda, do you like from your one day, do you automatically shift them to the next day or do you try to treat each day completely blank and like do you decide whether or not to then put that thing you didn't do the day before on the next day?
Yeah, so I think each day is going to be individual, right? Like sometimes you do shift those things to the next day, and
Yeah.
sometimes you just you know go with the flow. And okay, it didn't
Yeah.
get done.
Yeah.
Maybe it shouldn't have been on the power list to begin with. Maybe you realized that it wasn't really that important, right?
Hmm.
But I will also say too that my power list looks very similar day in and day out. So, I mentioned reading the Bible, reading 10 pages of a personal development book. That goes on there every single day because
Mm,
that's something that stimulates my personal growth and my business growth. And like
right.
right now, another thing on my power list is to drink 100 ounces of water because I wasn't doing that. Yeah. And for me, I know that if I'm dehydrated, I get anxious. So when I
Mm,
start to feel anxiety rising up, the first thing that I ask myself is, Amanda, have you drank your water today? And if I haven't, I know that's probably the problem. So until I get myself to a position where I'm drinking 100 ounces of water every day and it's habit, and I don't have to be super intentional on it, that will stay on my power list.
I love that. It's almost like giving yourself some non-negotiables.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes.
I love it. I love it. I can't wait to hear what you have for tip number 3.
Yeah, let's do this. So I don't know. If I had to pick a favorite tip, I would say this is my favorite one. It's going to
Ooh,
be your energy. Okay, your energy. So one of the things that I say
Mm.
often is the right actions without the right energy, they do not matter. Okay, they don't matter because here's the thing, you have an energetic signature that you attach to everything that you do, right? Every conversation you have, every post that you make on social media, every interaction with your children, you have an energetic signature that is tied to what you are doing, and people can read that. Now, a lot of times people don't really know that they're reading your energetic signature, but they just know that, I don't know, there was something about that interaction with Cheyanne that I didn't feel good about,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Or you come across a person or a post on social media and you're like, yes, like I love her. That is my girl. I have to see what else she's putting out into the world. That's your energetic signature. Okay. And so your energetic signature, the energy with which you go about your life, I believe is a huge determining factor, especially in business, whether people join you, follow you, stay engaged with you, buy from you, join your team, like whatever it is. Right. And so when that energy is off, we're going to struggle to grow our business. We're going to struggle to grow an income.
Right.
And so, really, just putting yourself in that right energetic space before you do those income producing activities is going to
Mm.
be key. Okay. Because, like I said, people can just read that. And
Yeah.
so, and so this was something that was really hard for me because as a mom of twins, when my twins were little, I was so exhausted, like exhausted. So, like, how do you pull yourself from a space of overwhelm and exhaustion into a high vibe, high energy space when you're going into your business, right? Because I remember during power hours or nap hours, all I wanted to do was take a nap. And
Was
sometimes
it
I did,
exactly.
but sometimes you have stuff that you have to get done. So how can you take 5 minutes, the first 5 minutes, and
Mm.
change your energy, right? That's the answer to that is gonna be different for everybody.
Yeah.
Maybe you need to, like, crank up the worship music, right? Like, so the devil knows who he's who he's
Amen.
working against. Maybe you need to go outside and get some vitamin D and take a short walk. Maybe you pray, maybe you do breathing exercises, like, I don't know what it's gonna be for you, but you have to find that thing that's going to automatically be able to just switch your mental space, right?
Wow.
Because that is
Yeah.
going to be attached to what you do.
Wow. I love that. And I love that you pointed out to us, Amanda, that it takes 5 minutes, because
Yeah,
we are so, as moms of littles, we are so overwhelmed and exhausted. I think that is just the name of the game. Just like mom
yes,
guilt exists, I think there's just no way necessarily around it. And not that it has to be a lifestyle, an everyday thing, but we are going to experience overwhelm and exhaustion. And I love that. My question, literally, as you were talking, was like, how do we do that? How do we? So you answered my question. I'm sure so many moms listening were also thinking the same thing. And I love that you made it so practical. Like, anybody for 5 minutes, especially if you do have an hour, even if you only have 15 minutes, you've shown us that the power of 5 minutes. And that almost to me feels like another non negotiable is like,
oh,
hey,
yeah,
before you launch into your work, go serve your soul. Like, what fuels your soul? That's so much of actually what I teach my ladies too in my course is like, you have to figure out what fuels your soul because there are going to be people out there that tell you do this, do that, make sure you do this. Like, some women may not need to drink 100 ounces of water, or
right.
maybe they already do that, and it's like they still are feeling off. And I love that you've zoned in on what fuels you and what puts you into a better energetic state. And part of that, I feel, is part of that discovery is figuring out like what does that for you, and then zoning in on it and making it a non-negotiable. And we all have 5 minutes, right? We all are, we should invest those 5 minutes in ourselves so that our business can then also grow and be more intentional. So thank you for bringing that another bonus tip, no, that non-negotiable to our remembrance, to our beliefs today.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think that, one of the things that again, something I find myself saying often is when
Yeah.
it comes to your business strategy, there's no
Mhm.
one right, only best strategy. Like there are so many different strategies that are going to work for your business. And it's the same way with your personal development and what fuels you and what lights you up, right? You just have to go through that journey of self-discovery to figure out what that is. And honestly, that's the work that when mompreneurs are not successful, it's going to be because that's the work that they fail to do.
Wow. Wow. I have to tell you, Amanda, like I am so pumped up from this interview.
Mm.
I like already want to be like, okay, I can't wait till my son naps again so that I can go put this into practice, and I'm sure there's moms listening that feel the same way. If you're like me, moms listening, I've been like over here taking notes and just really processing this because this has been so beautiful and so wonderful. And I just so appreciate you being here on Mom Nation today and just blessing us with your presence on this episode.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for asking me to be here. Yeah, and I look forward to collaborating with you on, other topics as well. So thank you.
Yes, a little spoiler alert that at the time of this episode, so this is episode 50, ladies, and Amanda is actually going to be joining me here in a few weeks. She's going to be on episode 56, where she dives even deeper into the mompreneur life, and we're going to specifically talk about some more like first steps. Like, okay, so say after this episode, you're like, hey, I'm convinced. I feel like I can do this. Now I know how to have a power hour. Well, we're going to dive a little bit deeper and share with you some steps of like how you can actually make that possible and have a full-time business, an income, a mompreneur lifestyle at home, one that you absolutely love. So please come back for that. I'm just so thankful again that you were here, Amanda, and I can't wait for our next episode together.
Yeah, of course.
Hey, girlfriend. Yes, mama, I'm talking to you. I have a question for you. Do you wish that there was a way to stop feeling emotionally drained by your life as a mom of littles? Or how about have more energy for your husband without constantly feeling physically exhausted? I know what it feels like to want more from your life than just being a mom. I know what it feels like to be overwhelmed with where to begin to stop the stress in my everyday life and to have absolutely no idea what healthy habits to implement in my own home that'll actually make a difference. I know what it feels like to be totally lost and how to create a realistic and sustainable plan that works for me and not everyone else. And just to basically think, I just can't be energetic while I parent a household full of littles that demand so much of me. And, well, at least one that doesn't rely on either coffee for energy or wine to de-stress. Am I right? Let's take a moment and imagine if. Imagine if you no longer felt completely exhausted at the end of your day. What if you had the time to go on dates with your husband and you had the energy to give yourself some much needed me time and you had easy to implement systems and strategies that would allow you to be that energetic and vibrant mama that you want to be, all while still raising your kids the way you want? Well, I have great news for you. That's why I created the More Energy Method, a customized blueprint to clear your chaos and bring back more energy into your everyday life. It's where I teach you to decrease stress while increasing your energy. Win-win. You'll be able to stick with this super simple plan, tailor-made for you, mama, that will establish new healthy habits that'll unlock energy without taking away focus from your kids or require huge commitments of time. You'll walk away with crystal clear clarity of exactly what to focus on, with a plan that'll help you know exactly how to do it and the confidence as a woman, wife, and mother to make the changes you need to and to keep them for good. So if you're ready to stop feeling overwhelmed and exhausted the moment you wake up and instead trade that in for feeling rejuvenated throughout the day and go to bed satisfied, even as a busy mom of littles, then head right now to energyformoms.com and grab hold of my Blast Off to Summer special where you will get $40 off. Did you know that the average cost of drinks on a date night is $40? Hey, consider that my gift from me to you and your husband, mama. Now, this offer expires July 31st, so don't miss out. Head on over to energyformoms.com. It's time to lose the stress while gaining yourself back and have endless amounts of energy for yourself, for your husband, and a life beyond just your
And I
littles.
know I'm not the only one that I already follow you on all the things, but I know that there are going to be plenty of moms who want to continue this conversation with you and to connect with you and hear more about what you have going on and how they can continue this conversation with you. So, what is the best way that if a mom's like, oh my gosh, Amanda's my girl, I want to learn more from her, what's the best way that they can connect with you?
Yeah, so 2 ways probably the best way, you're listening to a podcast, right? So you would probably be most interested in my podcast. So I'm sure I can't talk. Sure Cheyanne can put up the link for you. But it's the Mompreneur Coach podcast. You can also follow me on Facebook. I do most of my content actually in a private group. It is a free group to join though. So it's called From Side Hustle to Main Hustle, and you can search that. I'll pop up. Join me there.
Oh my gosh, I did not realize that was your group name. That is genius. I hope you trademark that. That is awesome. Ladies, to say that again, it's side hustle to main hustle. Yes?
Yep. Yep, from side hustle to
Awesome.
main hustle.
Side Hustle to Main Hustle on Facebook. And no worries if you're driving your car or if you're like wiping a snotty nose right now. I've got both of those links in the show notes below. And most of all, I just want to say, Amanda, thank you so much for sharing your time with us today, but sharing your wisdom and making us feel like not alone and making us feel like it's okay to feel all the things and to give us permission to go for it and to go after those things, go for it whether we're afraid or not, and just make these things, yeah, very tangible reality. So again, thank you so much for being here today on Mom Nation.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I look forward to doing it again soon.
That's right. All right, ladies, thank you so much for joining us alongside us. At the time of this episode, I actually have a gift for you guys, another episode with Amanda, where we actually break down what to do with that magical hour or less when your toddler is sleeping, basically what to do with those little pockets of time that you're gifted. And that is episode 50. And I will go ahead and put that in the show notes as well, because you definitely don't want to miss more of Amanda's wisdom there again today. So again, thank you so much, Amanda, for joining us. And ladies, we will see you again on another episode.